looking to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello, Amalma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN in Focus. And joining me today is from our EBC Cambodia Bureau. Hello, Crystal.
Hello, Alma. I'm Crystal Ann Ballesteros, EBC Cambodia Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines. First, Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship and Go Negosyo founder Joey Concepcion said more COVID-19 vaccines are expected to be made available in the country.
Next, Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha will ride Thailand's first driverless train on December 16.
Yung napatunayan po.
Former members of the Communist Party of the Philippines or New People's Army, CPP-NPA, belied claims that government forces tortured and maltreated former communist rebels who went back to the fold of the law.
Singaporeans hungry for travel and Agatha Christie fans got a taste of a bygone era of luxury transport on board the legendary Orient Express train at a new exhibition that opened in Singapore on Saturday.
First, here in the Philippines, in a statement yesterday, Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship and Go Negosyo founder Joey Concepcion said more COVID-19 vaccines are expected to be made available in the country. British drug maker AstraZeneca's approved of a request from the private sector for a second batch of vaccine procurement for donations. Last month, 2.6 million doses of the vaccines were secured as the national government alongside the private sector signed a tripartite agreement with AstraZeneca Pharmaceutical Company. Meanwhile, during this signing, National Policy Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer and Vaccine Czar, Secretary Carlito Galvez, expressed confidence in the vaccine being developed by AstraZeneca. He earlier called the initial acquisition of the 2.6 million doses of the vaccine a game changer towards the country's recovery from the impact of the pandemic. Since the start of the pandemic, Mr. Concepcion and the private sector has been utilizing tools to provide visibility against the virus and thus allowing the reopening of the economy.
All Filipino seafarers bound for China are required to take not only one, but 2 coronavirus disease tests before they will be allowed to enter the host country. The Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, or POEA, said on Friday. In an advisory, the agency said aside from a nucleic acid test for COVID-19, Filipino sea-based workers entering China are now required to take a COVID-19 IgM antibody test as an additional requirement in compliance with stricter protocols amid the pandemic.
Yung pong pagdating sa COVID test ng mga joining crew natin o yung tinatawag nating mga seafarers na mag-embark sa mga ships, no, patungo po sa iba't ibang destination. Number one po, liwanagin natin na kaya po nagpalabas ang Chinese government ng ganyang patakaran ay dahil sa may mga po tayo na umalis ng bansa, nag-negatibo sa COVID test result. Pero pagdating po doon sa kanilang bansa, minsan nagpa-positive. So yun po ang concern at in-address po natin dahil po sa pag-ugnayan natin sa Chinese government. At ang nangyari nga po, dalawa po yung magiging COVID test nila. Una, yung bago po sila umalis, no? Kaya kailangan may quarantine po sila at sila po ay magko-COVID para po sa
Long 1919 complex. The Bombardier Innovia APM 300 electric trains will be composed of 2 carriages. It will operate at a maximum speed of 80 kilometers per hour, carrying up to 276 per train, 4,200 passengers per hour per direction. They will run on rubber wheels, making it a quieter operation compared to the traditional trains. Joining us live from Bangkok, and to tell us more, here's Cristel Di Marucot. Hello, Cristel.
Hi, Sawadee ka, Alma, and to all our viewers all over the world. Here are the latest updates here in Thailand. Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha is set to ride Bangkok's first driverless SkyTrain. He will preside over the opening ceremony of the SkyTrain Green Line extension, as well as the Gold Line monorail on Wednesday, December 16. The government spokesman Anucha Burapa Chaisira said, and I quote, "The Prime Minister will also board the first official driverless train from Krungthonburi SkyTrain Station to Klongsan District Office Station, along with members of the press." End of quote. He also added that the Green Line extension and the Gold Line would seamlessly link the transport of people from 3 provinces, which are Pathum Thani, Bangkok, and Samut Prakan. Furthermore, Alma, he said that the Gold Line also features Thailand's first driverless monorail train, which should help in reducing pollution and saving energy. The Green Line extension adds 7 more stations, and the last station is the first SkyTrain stop outside Bangkok. The extension makes it 68 kilometers long with 59 stops and can accommodate up to 1.5 million passenger trips each day. While the Gold Line monorail in the first phase runs between 3 stations, which covers a distance of 1.8 kilometers. Its system is equipped with automated guideway transit and automated people mover and can hold up to 42,000 passenger trips daily. Lastly, Anucha said that 9 out of 14 projects to extend the SkyTrain network in Bangkok and its perimeter have been completed so far, with a total distance of over 553 kilometers. He also said that there are more projects that are expected to be opened, such as Dark Red Line in 2021, the Pink Line in 2022, and the Red Line in 2024. That's the latest news here in Thailand. Back to you, Alma.
Thank you very much, Cristel, and tell us of your experience when you do ride the driverless train.
I'm so excited to try it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alma. And I just want to greet my mom. A happy birthday. Take care and I love you.
Is she here?
Reporting live in Bangkok, Thailand. This is Cristel Di Marucot. We live in Thailand.
Next, the Asian Development Bank, or ADB, on December 11 launched a $9 billion COVID-19 vaccine initiative. The Asia Pacific Vaccine Access Facility, or APVAX, offering rapid and equitable support to its developing members as they procure and deliver effective and safe coronavirus disease vaccines. ADB President Masatsugo Asakawa said, as ADB's developing members prepare to vaccinate their people as soon as possible, they need financing to procure vaccines as well as appropriate plans and knowledge to be able to safely, equitably, and efficiently manage the vaccination process. APVAX will play a critical role in helping our developing members meet these challenges, overcome the pandemic, and focus on economic recovery, he said. It provides a comprehensive framework and resource envelope for supporting developing Asia's vaccine access using 2 complementary components. The rapid response component will provide timely support for critical vaccine diagnostics, procurement of vaccines, and transporting vaccines from the place of purchase to ADB's developing members, he added. According to Asakawa, ADB financing for vaccines will be provided in close coordination with other development partners, including the World Bank Group, World Health Organization, COVID-19 Vaccines Global Access Facility, Gavi, and bilateral and multilateral partners. In November, ADB announced $20.3 million in additional technical assistance to establish systems to enable efficient and equitable distribution of vaccines across Asia and the Pacific.
In other news, Indonesia has arrested a senior leader of the Al-Qaeda-linked Jemaah Islamiyah network for an alleged role in the deadly 2002 Bali bombings, according to a police spokesman. National Police spokesman Argo Yuwono said Zulkarnain, 57, was arrested in Lampung on Sumatra Island on Thursday after spending nearly 18 years at large. Argo said Zulkarnain is now being interrogated and anti-terror investigators were searching his residence. Zulkarnain has been on Indonesia's most wanted list since the bombings that killed 202 people on the Indonesian resort island of Bali. Argo said that he was the military leader of Jemaah Islamiyah during the attack. His cell is also believed to have helped carry out the suicide bombing at Jakarta's Marriott Hotel in 2003 that killed 12 people. He was the only Indonesian listed on Washington's Rewards for Justice program with a bounty of up to $5 million. The former Afghan war veteran established a special unit within JI tasked with planning deadly attacks. The unit was also mandated to incite ethnic and religious violence in Sulawesi and Malacca Islands, where thousands died between 1998 and 2002. JI was founded by a handful of Indonesian militants exiled in Malaysia in the 1980s and grew to include cells across Southeast Asia.
The World Health Organization warned Friday that December holiday celebrations could turn bad if people fail to keep up their guards against COVID-19. Let's listen in.
The festive season is a time to relax and to celebrate, but we must not relax our guard. Celebration can very quickly turn to sadness if we fail to take the right precautions. As you prepare to celebrate over the coming weeks, please consider your plans carefully. If you live in an area with high transmission, please take every precaution to keep yourselves and others safe.
But we really must be vigilant and we really must stay the course. Given the holidays that are coming up, as the Director General just said, it is a time when many people want to come together, but we really need to make very careful decisions about how we celebrate this year.
National regulatory authorities do have the mandate and the jurisdiction to make these assessments and decisions for use within their own countries. So every national regulatory authority has the authority and the mandate to do that, but that's limited to their own countries. Now, several countries rely on WHO's pre-qualification service for vaccines and for drugs. And that's a service that WHO provides also for global procurement agencies like UNICEF and Gavi, because it's a stamp of quality, safety, efficacy, and manufacturing quality. In the case of the emergency use license, of course, we base this assessment on limited amounts of data.
Finding as many infected people in the community is very important. But when you get a test and you test positive or negative on a certain day, it doesn't mean you will test negative the next day or the next day. So doing more testing to find infected people, yes, good. Relying on a single test to guide your behaviour in the coming days, or who you can meet or what you can do, is problematic because knowing your status today does not guarantee your status tomorrow.
But testing for testing's sake must be linked to public health action. It must be linked to isolation of cases, clinical care of cases, contact tracing, supported quarantine of those contacts. And as Mike has said, a test result gives you the result of that sample that was collected at the time of testing. You could become infected between the time that you took that test and the time you get that result back, which is why it's really important that you not only get tested with a high quality either PCR test or an antigen-based test, but that you get that result back quickly.
And as we said it many times, sharing the vaccine and having the inoculation everywhere in all countries means faster recovery, and it's in the interest of each and every country in the world. Lives and livelihoods will get back to the new normal, and we believe that's what the world wants now. Thank you.
The opening remark of Dr.
Former members of the Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army, or CPP-NPA, belied claims that government forces tortured and maltreated former communist rebels who went back to the fold of the law. During the Pros and Cons television show aired on Sunday, Ivelyn Corpin, alias Ka-Ivy, said government security forces are sincere in their commitment to achieving lasting peace, as they encourage more rebels to surrender. Corpin added surrenderers are actually getting various benefits from the government when they decide to quit the armed struggle. Take a look.
Yung napatunayan po namin yan na mga FR na hindi totoo na tinotorture, sinasaktan, binubugbog o liniliquidate ang mga nagsusurrender. Hindi man po natin masabi, pero biruin niyo po yung mga captured. Para dahil sincero ang gobyerno, ang AFP-PNP natulungan ang mga mamamayan na napunta sa makakaliwang panig, idinideklara pa rin nilang surrendery para magkaroon lang ng benepisyo at makita na binabago talaga ng gobyerno yung kasalukuyan na sistema para lang sa kabutihan din ng mamamayan. Maging solusyon po tayo, hindi lang po sa buong lipunan, mag-umpisa po yan sa loob ng ating tahanan.
Pulutan natin ng leksyon, ng aral, yung mga naging karanasan namin, ni Ka-Ivy, ni Ka-Amihan, ng iba't iba pang mga former rebel na nagpapatotoo na kung ano nga po ba talaga yung mukha, yung totoong mukha ng CPP-NPA, NDF doon sa mga legal front organizations nito. At siyempre, sa lahat ng mga kabataan pa na nananatili, nasa loob ng organisasyon, huwag natin sayangin yung panahon, huwag natin sayangin yung lakas at talino natin dahil sa napakarami pa natin pwedeng maiambag doon sa lipunan, napakarami pa natin pwedeng maitulog doon sa sambayan ng Pilipino at maging instrumento na para sa pagpapaunlad ng ating bansang Pilipinas. Handa kaming tumulong, handang tumulong yung pamahalaan para matulungan kayong makaalis doon sa mga organisasyon na to. Handa kaming tumulong para bigyan ng security o magkaroon ng sistema ng seguridad upang hindi kayo mabalikan ng mga kasama.
Corpin said she was a student activist from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines when she joined the Communist Armed Movement. She said a series of recruitment processes were organized by the CPP-NPA's legal front organizations to agitate more youth to join their cause. And these recruitment schemes include rallies, mass mobilization, and community immersions, eventually pushing the youth to join the movement. Meanwhile, Ray Christian Sabado, alias Chan Chan, also a former NBA rebel, said that the communist group, through its legal front organizations, is maneuvering the mindset of the youth to recruit more members. Again, let's listen in.
At kailangan daw po namin na makakuha ng iba't ibang mga pag-aaral para daw po doon sa mas makakapag...
Yung napatunayan po namin yan na mga FR na hindi totoo na tinotorture, sinasaktan,
Turuan din natin ang mga bata ng tamang paghugas ng mga kamay. Basain ang kamay ng tubig at lagyan ng sabon. Kuskusin ang iyong mga palad. Gayon din ang pagitan ng mga daliri. Pati na ang likod ng mga palad at daliri. Ganon din ang iyong hinlalaki, kasama ang mga dulo ng iyong mga daliri. Pagkatapos ay iyong kalapulsuhan. Gawin ito ng kahit 20 segundo. Pagkatapos ay banlawan ng tubig at patuyuin.
Workers of the Petron refinery here have appealed to the local government to help prevent the reported shutting down next month of the country's biggest and only remaining oil plant. Tom De Villa, refinery shift superintendent, on Saturday said they're seeking the support of Town Mayor Nelson David and other officials to help save the revenue-strapped oil refinery from closing, which surely will result in the displacement of many workers. Reportedly to be affected are almost 1,000 Petron refinery workers and over 2,000 third-party personnel, including suppliers and contractors. Also feared to be affected is the country's oil supply. The refinery has a daily rated capacity of 180,000 barrels. It produces various fuel products, including diesel, gasoline, liquefied petroleum gas, Jet A1, as well as petrochemicals. He also said the oil plant has been operating in Barangay Alangan in Limay for 60 years. De Villa said they are also supportive of a proposal to reclassify the refinery as part of the Freeport area of Bataan in Mariveles, next to Limay. The employees believe that the move would help stop the refiner's financial bleeding, as it will partially address some of the company's major woes. Media reports said Petron Corporation President Ramon Ang lamented that the refiner is taxed upon importation of crude oil, while importers are charged at the finished products level, putting the refiner at a significant disadvantage due to much higher taxes. Ang said volatility in world crude prices, which ultimately result in huge inventory losses, coupled with the prolonged decline in demand due to the continuing effects of the coronavirus disease pandemic on transportation and industries, has further worsened the refinery's financial woes.
Meanwhile, after a record high unemployment rate at the height of the pandemic-induced lockdowns, Filipinos should expect more job opportunities at the opening next year, as more firms indicated willingness to start increasing their employment size in the first quarter of 2021. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP, in its quarterly survey of business expectation and confidence reported that more firms indicated improved employment and outlook plans for January to March this year. In particular, the Business Mirror said the Employment Outlook Index returned to the positive territory for the first quarter of 2021 at 5.3%. This is a turnaround from the negative 5.9% 6.5% in the previous round of the survey. For the next 12 months, the Employment Outlook Index hit 7.8% from the negative 2.1%, indicating an upward trend in the confidence of businesses to hire people in the next couple of months. The confidence index is computed as the percentage of optimistic firms minus the percentage of pessimistic firms on the employment outlook. Likewise, the percentage of businesses with expansion plans in the industry sector rose to 16.9% for the first quarter of 2021 from 11% in the previous survey round. Latest data from the Philippine Statistic Authority or PSA showed the country's unemployment rate hit 8.7% in October.
In a virtual setting, Kristalina Georgieva, Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund or IMF, delivered remarks at the Singapore FinTech Festival on reimagining payments for the digital era. Let's listen in.
This is a story about human drive and ingenuity. A story about the revolution in payments that erases physical distance, that generates data, which is the new gold, and hence often the new collateral. It is about payments that are cheap and widely accessible, that are seamlessly integrated in our digital lives. As the way we make payments changes, our world changes. We can provide access to financial services for 1.7 billion adults who are still unbanked, and help many more vulnerable people who are currently paying high fees. Also, the banking and financial industry is being reshaped by data, automation, and real-time analytics. And finally, payment innovations can change the international monetary system, the ways in which we transact across borders, access foreign assets, exchange currencies, and price goods. And digital payments are not just for the tech-savvy. They have huge implications for the whole world. So we must tread courageously and carefully. We must ensure that payments evolve to meet user needs while remaining safe and resilient. And that's at the micro level. At the macro level, we need to foster a financial sector and international monetary system that are efficient and trusted, equitable and inclusive, and still dynamic.
Senator Sani Angara said the country should begin to experience better internet connectivity even in remote and inaccessible areas once the Department of Information and Communications Technology or DICT completes the first phase of its National Broadband Program or NBP.
Those who have less in life,
4.5 trillion pesos general appropriations bill that was ratified last Wednesday by Congress, Angara noted that the DICT's budget for NBP was doubled from the proposed 902.194 million pesos in the National Expenditure Program to 1.9 billion pesos. This is on top of the budget for the implementation of the free Wi-Fi in public places and in the state universities and colleges programs of the DICT. With bigger investments coming into the country, Angara said it will mean more higher-paying jobs and more economic activity. There has always been a need for a fast, stable, and reliable internet connection in the country, but Angara said this is even more urgent now because of the changing requirements of the people under the new normal.
The Philippines and the European Union are eyeing to hold at least 2 trade dialogues in 2021, affirming the strong economic partnership of the two parties. In a statement on Friday, the Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, Secretary Ramon Lopez met virtually with European Commission Executive Vice President Valdis Dombrovskis last December 8 to discuss the future of the Generalized Scheme of Preference Plus, or GSP Plus, a possible EU-Philippine trade agreement, and other trade and investment-related matters. Lopez said the Philippines stands ready to engage with the EU for a dialogue to conduct a technical mission on GSP Plus early next year. A delegation from the EU was supposed to visit Manila September this year for the regular monitoring under the GSP Plus. The regular monitoring assesses the country's adherence to the 27 international conventions on human rights, labor rights, environmental protection, and good governance to continue enjoying the GSP Plus benefits. The DTI chief said the GSP Plus is more crucial for micro, small, and medium enterprises in times of the pandemic. Mr. Lopez and Dombrovskis also discussed the convening of the Subcommittee on Trade, Investment and Economic Cooperation under the Philippine-EU Partnership Cooperation Agreement in 2021. The subcommittee will discuss the negotiations for a possible FTA between the EU and the Philippines. The Philippines and the EU began their exploratory talks on the bilateral free trade deal in 2013. The two parties already had 2 rounds of negotiations, one in Brussels in 2016 and the second was in Cebu City in 2017. Just last month, RCEP, or the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, was concluded. The Philippines was a signatory to the FTA among ASEAN and its 5 FTA partners, namely Australia, New Zealand, China, Japan, and South Korea. And Lopez said through the RCEP, European businesses can set up their manufacturing facilities in the Philippines and export their products to RCEP participating countries at 0 tariff.
Next, state-owned train manufacturer PT Inca for the first time shipped 3 locomotives and 15 cars to the Philippines via the Tanjung Perak port in East Java on Saturday. The export of locomotives produced by Indonesian sons is the first of its kind. PT Inca President Director Budi Noviantoro said, while seeing off the consignment ordered by the Philippine National Railways, or PNR, at the port. The shipment followed the signing of a contract between Philippine National Railway General Manager Jun Magno and PT Incas Noviantoro in Manila on May 28, 2018 for the purchase of locomotives and cars worth $26 million or 1.4 billion pesos. In December 2019, PT Inca exported 2 train sets of diesel multiple unit, or DMU, worth $9.7 million to the Philippines and 4 DMU train sets worth $21.4 million US dollars in February 2020. Noviantoro said, the export of locomotives to the Philippines is part of the implementation of the SOE Go Global program. It also proved the existence of PT Inca and the continuation of SOEs in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Taufik Bawazir, Director General of Metal, Transportation Mode and Electronic Industry at the Industry Ministry, urged PT Inca to strengthen innovation with the help of digitalization to artificial intelligence. He said that would help PT Inca compete with foreign rivals, particularly in the Southeast Asian market.
ASEAN in Focus, we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
It says the best defense is still containment.
We are in uncharted territory.
Final volume 450. The 5 on to 100%.
Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Welcome back. Britain and Vietnam finalized a free trade agreement, the second deal London has reached in Southeast Asia in as many days, while deadlock continues over post-Brexit EU arrangements. Take a look.
Cả Việt Nam và Vương quốc Anh tiếp tục dành cho nhau những cái ưu đãi thuế quan cũng như là những cái điều kiện thuận lợi trong tiếp cận của thị trường từ trên nền tảng của hiệp định EVFTA mà Việt Nam đã ký kết với Liên minh châu Âu, và tất nhiên là có tiếp tục những cái điều chỉnh sửa đổi cho phù hợp với những cái điều kiện thực tiễn trong cái quan hệ giữa Việt Nam với Vương quốc Anh cũng như những điều.
The UK is committed to the accession process for the CPTPP. We're very pleased that today Vietnam has come out strongly in favour of the UK acceding to this very important free trade area. The CPTPP is important for the UK, first of all, because it would give us access, deep access, to a £9 trillion market, but also because it helps the UK diversify its supply chains more broadly and makes us more resilient. And
the deal with Vietnam comes into force January 1 next year. It will be Britain's third, following Thursday's pact with Singapore and October's first post-Brexit trade deal with Japan. Vietnam stands to benefit from tariff savings of £114 million on its exports, while British exports will be £36 million better off, with 99% of tariffs eliminated once the agreement is fully implemented. Analysts are saying that Britain is likely to get a trade boost in pharmaceuticals, vehicles, and spare parts. Vietnam's key exports to Britain include garments, seafood, and wooden furniture. Its main British imports are pharmaceutical products and manufacturing equipment. A joint statement released by Britain and Vietnam on Friday described the deal between the two countries as a key step towards Britain's entry into the CPTPP. Britain has expressed its desire to join the 11-country Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP, that will slash tariffs across much of the Asia-Pacific, welcoming Vietnam's support for that goal in September.
Cancer patients may soon be able to access affordable healthcare services as Congress has allocated 620 million pesos in the 4.506 trillion pesos national budget for 2021 to fund the government's cancer control program. In a statement given to Business Mirror, House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco lauded the inclusion of the funding in the final version of the 2021 budget. Velasco and the House contingent to the Bicameral Conference Committee earlier vowed to ensure there will be enough funds in the 2021 national budget to assist cancer patients. The House contingent is led by ACT-CIS party list representative Eric Yap, and Davao City 1st District Representative Paulo Duterte. Citing the Cancer Coalition Philippines, Velasco said a breast ultrasound, which is but one of many tests for breast cancer, could range from 600 to as high as 3,000 pesos, depending on the hospital. A colonoscopy could cost from 1,500 pesos to around 14,000 pesos, exclusive of professional fees, depending on the type of cancer. He said the chemotherapy cost per session can range from 20,000 to 120,000 pesos or more.
To the Myanmar Rohingya refugee crisis now and the reported transfer of some 1,600 vulnerable people sheltering in Bangladesh to an island off the coast. In a statement, UN-appointed rights expert Tom Andrews expressed concern that the relocation of the Rohingya to Bhasan Char Island had happened without an independent assessment to verify that the island was suitable to safely host new arrivals. The story has its roots in the mass exodus of several 100,000 Rohingya people who fled violent attacks in Myanmar's Rakhine state, linked to a military offensive in the summer of 2017. Mr. Andrews said that he was concerned that some of the relocations from Bangladesh camps had been done involuntarily through either coercion or misinformation. He also said that it was reasonable for the Bangladesh government to seek options for refugees who wanted to live elsewhere than the mega camps of Cox's Bazar. The rights expert also maintained that the Rohingya crisis emanated from Myanmar and can only be solved in Myanmar, which had the moral and legal responsibility to end this crisis, he said, by allowing the Rohingya to return home.
Malaysia's Coast Guard has made its largest ever seizure of the methamphetamine, a top official said on Sunday, seizing 2.12 tons of the drug disguised as tea in a shipment believed to have come from Myanmar. Coast Guard Chief Suvil Mat Som said the drugs found on a boat in northern Penang State were worth around 105.9 ringgit or $26.2 million. A local suspected trafficker was arrested. He said the intercepted shipment was likely destined for neighboring countries where it would fetch a higher price than in Malaysia. In recent years, Malaysia had made a number of seizures of highly addictive crystal meth. The Southeast Asian country is also battling a major drug addiction problem. Zubil said on December 9, a Coast Guard vessel had noticed a recreational boat moving suspiciously off Penang Island in broad daylight. A chase ensued after a lone 26-year-old man aboard refused to stop. He subsequently jumped off the vessel and was arrested, the Coast Guard said in a statement. Malaysian law provides for a mandatory death penalty for convicted drug traffickers. After inspecting the boat, officers found 30 sacks containing 2.12 tons of crystal meth, which was disguised as Chinese tea, it added. Hanoi's former mayor, a key backer of Vietnam's delayed Formula 1 Grand Prix, was jailed for 5 years on Friday for stealing state documents, casting further clouds over the troubled race. Nguyen Doc Chung, who was arrested for corruption in August, was convicted and sentenced after a 4-hour closed trial in Hanoi, state media said. Chung was a major supporter of Vietnam's inaugural F1 race, which was due to be held in Hanoi in April but was postponed because of the coronavirus and later cancelled. Hanoi has been left off a provisional 23-stop Formula 1 schedule for next year, with the race on April 25 marked TBC or to be confirmed. At the trial, Chung admitted his crime and showed his repentance, state-controlled newspaper To 3 reported. Chung, 53, was suspended as mayor 2 weeks before his arrest. The one-time director of Hanoi's police department was appointed chairman of the Hanoi People's Committee in 2015. 3 other men involved in the case were jailed for between 16 months and 4.5 years. It was unclear with whether Chung would face further charges. There has been no word from Vietnamese authorities on whether the race would make its belated debut next year, although it's understood that talks are continuing. Some spectator stands have been removed from beside the track. The Communist Southeast Asian Nationals signed a 10-year deal with Formula One in 2018. State media said it would cost the country $60 million per year. Vietnam hoped the glamour of the sport could reflect the country's economic lift-off and reshape Hanoi's image, much as it has done for Singapore.
And Singaporeans hungry for travel and Agatha Christie fans got a taste of a bygone era of luxury transport on board the legendary Orient Express train at a new exhibition that opened in Singapore last Saturday. Take a look.
So this is the train.
Really just being immersed in this experience and feeling it like it was like so many years back really just brings us back to the history, and I think that's something that we can't otherwise get in Singapore. And I think that it's really a good experience, especially in terms of pandemic. Like we can't really travel, so the fact that they brought this over to Singapore really helps us to experience something that we would not be able to experience otherwise.
Yeah, it was great to walk through the train to see all the Agatha Christie stuff. I love her so much, and that was the issue because why we are seeing it here right now. Yeah, and it's to see these things come to life, it's very exciting. Yeah.
我觉得还蛮有趣的，因为可以第一次亲密的接触这个应该100多年前快200年的一个火车，然后当然可以在亚洲去接触这个欧洲的一个产品，对，我觉得感受还是很好的，而且能做。
Novels and movies have featured the iconic Orient Express luxury passenger train, but now you'll be able to see it for yourself live. Once Upon a Time on the Orient Express, a pop-up exhibition featuring 2 original Orient Express train carriages and other heritage items is displayed here at the Gardens by the Bay. And once you arrive at the West Lawn, just next to Bayfront Plaza, you're greeted by a facade that's reminiscent of the Paris train station in the 19th century. And here's what to expect. The exhibit will feature over 200 pieces of artifacts on display, historical Louis Vuitton trunks once used by the travelers, map of the routes traveled by the Orient Express, tableware used on board the Orient Express, and guests can also dine in a replica of an Anatolia dining car. The Orient Express pop-up restaurant is helmed by Yannick Alieno, a chef who was awarded twice with 3 Michelin stars. And guests will be able to step inside the Pullman car as well. To showcase how luxurious travel was in the Orient Express, the train is also constructed with Cordoba embossed leather ceilings, Lalique crystal bas reliefs, gobelins, tapestries, velvet curtains from Genoa, silverware, precious tablecloths, crystal fine glasses as well. And guests will then proceed to the fourgon car, a wagon that is used to carry baggage, and they can see or look at the items used by some of the more famous travelers on the Orient Express, including Agatha Christie. Again, thank you, Crystal Ann, for joining me today and for your help. Thank you for your time.
No worries, Alma. And that's the latest news in the ASEAN region. Thank you for having me today, Alma. And this is Crystal Ann Ballesteros from your EBC Bureau, for your EBC Cambodia Bureau, reminding everyone to stay safe and be positive, but not with coronavirus. And we live in interesting times.
I agree with you, Crystal. Thank you very much. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.